Welcome, everybody. We're so glad that you're joining us today. My name is Andy Wood, and I'm the lead pastor of Echo.Church. And you are joining us for a series we're doing called Echo Essentials. And we've been looking this week at essential habits in the midst of COVID-19 and just rolling out some daily habits to help you both have hope and help in the midst of this crisis. I'm excited today to have with me Mandy and Felipe Santos, who have been a part of the Echo team from day one. Welcome, guys. Good to see you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, good to see all of you.
Mandy and Felipe have 5 kids at home, and that's a lot of kids to have locked in a house. How's it going for you guys, having everybody in one house?
It's not terrible. We're managing, but it's a daily struggle, as any other parents might know.
Every day is a little different. Some days I wanted to rip my hair out, and other days I'm like, hey, this is fun, more time with the family. So it kind of depends on the day.
Yeah. It's been interesting too, I think, kind of like noticing people's different patterns over the last few weeks. Like initially people were kind of getting this burst of energy and adrenaline's kicking in. And then now it's like the new normal has set in. And for those of us who have kids, we're like looking at the reality that kids are going to be at home now for probably 5 months until fall. So we know for sure. And community or connection is such a huge part of our lives. And it's changed tremendously over the last few weeks. And so our habit today, our 5th and final habit this week, is about connecting daily. And I would love to hear from both of you. Like, you're both leading out, super involved with our groups. Both Mandy and Felipe lead with Echo groups. I'd love to hear what you're learning as you're kind of talking to group leaders and people who are in groups. I know both of you are leading multiple groups. What are you seeing in terms of community right now in the midst of this shelter in place?
Well, I would say overall, I'm really pleasantly surprised with how well our group leaders have transitioned online, first of all. Just last week, we added 40 new Zoom accounts. So that was great.
Wow.
People are taking the plunge. I think there's an element of figuring out Zoom. So every week in our group, we have a new person trying to figure it out. And so there's a lot of grace in helping people learn how to use the mute button and how to use the camera. But I think doing it all together there's an element in it that's fun, and you learn together and you connect through this unknown way of doing a group. And so I think that in itself kind of brings some an element of energy and even creativity in it. And so it can lighten the mood. And for our group, we meet Wednesday nights, so it feels like a midweek kind of break where everyone can gather and we let people talk about what they're going through and just be able to express that emotion of, whether today was hard or it was easier, and just giving people space to answer that question, like, how are you doing today or this week, is huge for people. And that's, I've seen a lot of connection just through that.
That's great. Why, like, as you guys are talking to people and kind of hearing their different stories around what they're dealing with, why do you think this connection piece is so essential right now when people are locked inside their homes?
Yeah, I think the temptation when things go hard for some people is to isolate themselves. And to some, it's counterintuitive to connect with people more when you're struggling. To others, it's kind of more natural, but I think it's really important to remember that we were created for this. And for followers of Jesus or not, regardless of where people are in their journey of faith, we agree on this, that we have a real need inside of us for connection with humans. And when you don't have that, even sociologically and psychologically, it harms you. And so when we are in these times where we're all like at home stuck and feels like jail a little bit, we have to creatively find ways to still connect, or we're harming our souls in the process. So some people need to force themselves to it. Some people just need to adjust their rhythms to have it. And some, it's really natural to get it done. But I think we all need it at a pretty high level, especially in this time. It's not a time to like withdraw. It's actually a time to fight for connection more than ever before.
That's really good.
I
Talk
do want
about
to
like,
say, oh, can
go
I
ahead.
add something real fast? Is I think it's really important for people to engage in dialogue. I think a big advantage in this crisis, in this generation, is we have technology, right? So we can get online and we feel somewhat connected. But at the same time, if we're not dialoguing both ways and just doing a lot of input of reading people's social media posts, that's not true connection. And
Right.
so real connection is being able to express how you're doing to a person who can then reciprocate back to you. And so just, you know, using social media as a megaphone to, you know, blast the whole world about how you're feeling in that moment,
it's not healthy.
It's not going to be healthy for you inwardly. And so I think my heart is really right now for those who are isolated and alone without family at home. So singles, those are the people really on my heart as far as really needing to engage in true community and not just stay behind their devices in a one-way medium.
Yeah. One of the things I think has been really interesting for me personally, like on a relational side in the midst of this, is the range of emotions that I feel. And so like some days I feel really good and really strong. And some days I feel really weak and anxious and fearful. And I can even sometimes feel that shift within days. And one of the things that I'm learning is like I have to actively reach out to help, especially in those moments when I have strength, and then when I'm weak, needing to be able to feel free to reach out and ask for people to pray for me or get help, you know, get them to like encourage me at the times I need it. I'd love for you to talk about that. Like, how are you guys doing that? How are you processing that with group leaders? And even could you share a little bit about what we've been doing? Maybe there's some church leaders watching with care, like how we're caring for people and group leaders and kind of working through the different people that are a part of our church to love on them in the midst of this time.
Yeah, do you want to go?
Sure. I think one of the key things you mentioned that's important to remember in this is when there is like all the emotions are there because change requires us to grieve. And it's not just a death that requires us to grieve of a person, but it's a death of routine, a death of norm, or whatever else. So there's a lot of emotions. And so as a part of that is what Manny said, is we need to create dialogue and intentional opportunities to connect. So in our team at Echo, we basically have been empowering our staff and leaders to have care calls on a weekly basis where about 30 people a week, we get on the phone and we check in on and we ask them, how are you doing? Give them an opportunity to express their emotion in a healthy way. And one thing that we have found actually is that it's been so good for people to feel like they have permission to express their sadness or even to express need. A lot of times people, their pride stands in the way of them saying, I kind of need help right now. And then you feel when you act that way, you don't get what you need. And so these conversations, if nothing else, has just created an open door for people to express, like, I'm angry at my kids. I want to kill somebody right now. I yelled. I know even to you, and I repented a couple times already. Like, I exploded today, and feeling like it's like part of grieving all the change. And so creating opportunities for that with conversation is really, really important.
That's really good.
One of the things I am also paying attention to is the people who are doing really well, giving them permission to really reach out to people and encourage them to reach out to people. Like when you're strong, often that's God giving you that strength to use to reach out to someone else who is struggling. And so don't just, feel good that, oh, you're doing well, but use that to reach out to people. And then at the same time, if the next week you're struggling, be willing to reach out and ask for help. Don't just post on the good days, post on the bad days too. And let those who are helping you, let them be helped as well. So
that's really good. Let's talk about both married and singles. Like let's start with people who are single. Like give some real practical ideas that you guys have seen helping people who are single stay connected.
Yeah, we have some in our small group, and it's really funny. Conversations a little different. Some of them have been connecting with others via like streaming video gaming. So they'll do a lot of the video games right now are connected, you know, so they're like playing together virtually, or what a lot of people have been doing is these social virtual parties, right? So even we did it with you guys and some other people as well, where you like arrange an evening and a week where you just drink some wine and beer with each other virtually and share. And singles and couples can both do that. There, you have to get really creative, right? Because you can't see people in person, but there are ways to connect. And even when you go on a walk outside, like we've connected more with neighbors in coronavirus time than before, not through proximity necessarily of like face to face, but everyone's walking the street. So even just standing 20 feet apart, having a conversation about how they're doing, just being intentional with those environments is really key. And then obviously we really believe in echo groups and small group environments because they're intentional. And so when people are not in those, it's harder. And so whether they're part of Echo at another church, I think that is super, super important to still connect weekly, because you have to fight through a little bit more than usual for virtual connection than physical. And so the first 2 weeks even of our small group online, it was like, it was good. But last night, it was awesome. We laughed like half the time. So you have to fight through the discomfort of the change, single or married, and then create a weekly rhythm that allows you to have that connection. And every week it gets better if you commit to it. That's what I would encourage people to do. A group or even a service opportunity it's like with the same people, but it's intentional environment in a rhythm that helps you find the connection you need.
That's really good. One of the things on a family side that has been really helpful for us, in the first week or so, I noticed that work would bleed over into every moment. And it was kind of natural because we're reorganizing the whole church and we're changing everything. But once we kind of moved out of that week, we said, okay, we need to have dedicated times to connect with the kids where phones are away, where we're seated at a table. I'll talk a little bit about this next week in weekly habits, but we did a 24-hour period with no technology. And I just found that that dedicated space where we're connecting was so incredibly helpful. So like 2:00 every day, we go outside, and now the weather's a little bit better. We're playing soccer. I'm taking time in the middle of the day, but I'm focused on it and I'm more engaged in it. So hopefully these different ideas that we've thrown out have been helpful. Mandy and Felipe, would you guys share, like if people want to get connected more in community here at Echo, where can they go?
Right now they can go to Echo.Church/groups. That will continually be updated. In fact, in the next 7 to 10 days, we will upload some new groups that will launch after Easter. So stay updated with that, and you can get involved.
The teams are also great, Echo.Church/volunteer, because those teams are connecting quite a bit to serve the community through the Nextdoor app, through social media, through serving, through compassion efforts. So great way to connect with others as well.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you for being a part of the Echo family. We want to invite you to share, to let us know maybe some things that you're doing to connect with other people in your life. And then please do repost this, share it with your friends and family, and let's get help and hope to as many people as possible. Have a great day.